Let me know when you're ready, Val.
Yeah, I reviewed them last night.
But he reviewed them.
For tonight's meeting?
No,
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right, Brian.
Okay. Yeah, you have to resend it to him then.
or
All right, at this time, I'm going to call this meeting to order. And Val, will you go ahead and please call the roll?
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Here. Mayor Vita?
Here. And at this time, I'll also remind anybody, if you have any electronic devices, AKA a cell phone, if you could put that on silent during the meeting. And now I'll ask everybody if you'd please stand for the invocation and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today, dear God, to ask for guidance and wisdom. Dear Lord, we ask you to bless our nation and our city. Dear God, help us to heal. Dear Lord, please protect our first responders who are out there day in and day out protecting us. Dear God, we pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to jump right into our presentations. The first presentation that I'm going to read is the Citizen of the Year recognition. I'm going to read this into record, and we'll deliver this proclamation to Mrs. Ariel Kavanaugh. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, recognizing Ariel Kavanaugh as the Citizen of the Year for 2020. Whereas the City Commission has nominated Ariel Kavanaugh as the Citizen of the Year 2020, and whereas Ariel grew up in Clearwater, Florida, she moved to Holly Hill in 2011. Ariel has been a Volusia County school teacher for 6 years, currently teaching middle school. She has always taught at Title I high needs schools and loves it. Ariel holds a master's degree in educational leadership. And whereas Ariel likes to run alongside Riverside Drive, and she noticed during the month of September 2019, a big storm had come through Holly Hill and decided to go out on her own each day for a week to clean up. On the fourth day, she thought it'd be really cool to get some Holly Hill neighbors out there to help. Ariel thought it was a perfect opportunity for the community to come together to do good, get to know each other, share a common goal, to be positive in a not-so-positive time. And whereas Ariel decided to create a Facebook group that week and soon had over 100 citizens of Holly Hill join, all interested in one thing, making Holly Hill a beautiful place. And whereas from September to December, those interested met once a week to pick up hundreds of pounds of trash near the river in Holly Hill. They now meet monthly and have 10-plus members to meet up to help. And it's always such a fun experience. People who can't make it to their cleanups are are out on their own streets cleaning up and sharing their efforts on the group page. Through this small-town grassroots effort, Ariel has come to know and love her community far more now than ever. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, we hereby recognize Ariel Kavanaugh as Citizen of the Year 2020. And we'll have that delivered to her. And now, moving to what I recognize a lot of people are here tonight. This is a resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, recognizing Fire Lieutenant Thomas Mascio for his 31 years of service to the City of Holly Hill and its citizens. And I have a resolution here that I want to read into the record and will present to you. If you feel comfortable with it, if you want to say a few words, you're welcome to. And because I know a lot of your friends and family and colleagues are here, so this night's about you. And if you want, you can take a picture with the commission. We would appreciate that if you feel comfortable with that. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, recognizing Fire Lieutenant Thomas Mascio for his 31 years of service to the City of Holly Hill and its citizens. Whereas Thomas Mascio began his career with the City of Holly Hill on November 26, 1990, as a full-time employee of the City of Holly Hill Public Works Department. And whereas Thomas, upon graduating from the Florida Fire Academy, was hired by the Holly Hill Fire Department and promoted to a full-time position as a firefighter EMT on January 3, 1992. And whereas Thomas Mascio chose to go above and beyond his required responsibilities as he sought out additional training related to fire science and department operations while serving the citizens of Holly Hill and surrounding municipalities as called upon. And whereas he obtained certifications for fire inspector and served the community in maintaining safety standards concerning businesses, churches, schools, and any other public facilities. And whereas he completed the emergency vehicle operations course and was promoted to driver engineer on October 4th, 1996, with this ability and expertise, Tom was a pivotal support to the entire Volusia and Flagler counties less than 2 years later during the infamous 1998 wildfires. And whereas Thomas Mascio was recognized as Firefighter of the Year 2006 for his outstanding ability and professionalism in serving Holly Hill Fire Department and the city of Holly Hill. Tom was promoted to Fire Lieutenant on March 23, 2007, the position he has maintained for the past 15 years. He is greatly respected and by all members of the department and has served as a fine shift commander. And whereas Thomas Mascio will be retired from the Holly Hill Fire Department on January 30th, 2021 as a dedicated public servant with 31 years of service to the citizens of Holly Hill. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, hereby acknowledges its grateful appreciation of Fire Lieutenant Thomas Mascio for his 31 years of outstanding service and dedication to the City of Holly Hill and wish him well in his retirement and through his future endeavors. Thank you so much, Thomas. All right, we'll do photo first. Photo first, and then the big speech that he's been planning.
Been working on it for 31 years, right?
31 years in the making.
All right, big smiles, twinkly eyes, all that good stuff.
All right, thank you. The floor is yours.
You know, that's dangerous.
I'd like to
Yeah, you can take it off. Yep.
thank the city for a great career. It's been a great place to work and enjoyed working with everybody and appreciate this, Mr. Mayor, Commission, Joe. I'd like to thank everybody that I've worked with over the years. It's been a pleasure. Learned something from everybody. And it's, like I said, it's been a great place to work, great city. Really enjoyed being here. Might pull Randy ask and come back in a year or two. But thank everybody.
Thank you. Do you want to say something?
No, I was going to say good pizza too that we grew up on together, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Mr. Forte?
Yeah, I'll just make a comment. You know, Tom, this one really affects me the most out of all the guys that have retired there, because Tom and I worked together from, I guess, 92 to 95, and then from 95 to 98 while I was the chief. But Tom and I were partners for several years. We've been through a lot of things together. He's the last firefighter in that station that worked there while I was the fire chief. So this one really is personal to me. And we had a good relationship back then. He was a good firefighter, a good, dependable guy to rely on. We had some very, very good times together, and we've been through a lot of tough calls together. So it's really personal to me, and I'm extremely proud and happy to see that he got to this point in his career. Couldn't be more happier for the guy, and I wish you the best of luck, Tom, and proud to have served with you. Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Commissioner?
I just would like to say congratulations. You have earned it. I've known you since back when Forrest started working here. And you helped us tremendously during our time of having the police explorers. You not only made their training educational, but you made it fun. And they always remembered you. So thank you very much for everything that you've done for the city and for Forrest and I.
Anybody else? All right. Well, on behalf of the commission, thank you so much for your service to our citizens, and we hope you do stick around. So thank you very much. So at this time, I know most of you were...
No,
sorry.
you're going right where I wanted you to go.
Okay.
Just
Do you want
say-
to add anything, Vice Mayor?
No, I was just gonna, good luck, Tommy. Just, I was gonna say, you might want to have a 30-second delay and let everybody leave that doesn't want to sit through the rest of this stuff.
Yeah. So we know what you came for, and we won't bore you by the rest of the meeting. We won't take it personal, so if you would like to leave now, you can. Thank you again for your service.
Bye-bye. Bye, Jenny.
Man, where did the time go?
What?
Where did the time go? 31 years.
Jenny was like a mother to my husband when she worked at the police department.
The whole time I've been alive.
Dude,
Literally. Literally.
That's a way to look at it. I guess.
Hey, Val, I got a
He's worked a
message that the
lifetime.
live might not be up. Okay. All right. All right, no worries. What is that? The live is going
could be
in.
with the power.
You know, we did a transfer of our power to the generator, so we threw the power off and the generator kicked on, and Scott's not here, so we're not sure absolutely everything has been reset.
Oh, so we're on a generator right now?
No, we're back on power,
Oh, okay.
but when we flipped off the power switch, I don't know if it did something.
Okay.
The Wi-Fi came back up, so I just don't know. It's a possibility that that's the case.
Okay, all right, no worries. All right, at this time, we're going to move to public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to address anything not on our regular agenda tonight to the City Commission. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on anything not on our regular agenda? All right, seeing none, I will close public comments, and I will move to the approval of minutes for January 12th, 2021 workshop and January 12th, 2021 workshop and January 12th, 2021 regular City Commission meeting. Can I have a motion for approval for both of those minutes?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now moving to the consent agenda, items 1 through 3. Would any commissioner like to remove any item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, the action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless the city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda tonight? Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, I'm Heidi Heller of 460 Ridgewood Avenue. I'd like to say thank you very much for having these monthly meetings twice a month. It's great for the public, even though there's not many of us here. I hope many people are listening. I would like to mention that on the amendment to waive the right to termination, just as Mr. Penny is a stickler for details and numbers, I like details myself. And it says, real estate purchase agreement, the purchase agreement dated November 15, 2017 by and between the City of Holly Hill, Florida, a municipal corporation seller, and BD Beneficial Development 17 LLC, a Florida limited liability company, as modified and assigned by the Vistas at Fountainhead Limited Partnership. Then it goes on. However, in my research for accuracy, Vistas at Fountainhead Limited Partnership has actually had a name change back in October 5th of last year. It's been changed to Pierce Place Limited Partnership. And in order to maintain accuracy, I'm hoping that that can be changed or adjusted. I don't know whether it's required to, but it has been changed according to the Department of Interior Division of Corporations. And I do have the documents from the department, if you would like them.
Okay. And Heidi, would that conclude your public comment? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to make a comment on the consent agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll close public participation. And if this commission could just hold on a second to allow Mr. Forte to review this, or Mr. Forte, can we go ahead and pass this and make the
If
change?
it's a name change, it'll convert.
Okay.
The Vistas is the Affordable Housing Development name.
The name of the actual development.
Yeah, but I don't know what, I have to look and see what Pierce,
But the developer is still BD Beneficial?
that's the parent corporation, yes.
All right, but we can go ahead and approve this, and if there's a name change needed, you can adjust that? Is that correct, Scott? Yes? Okay. All right, then let's move forward with this. So I will entertain a motion for approval for items 1 through 3 on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No discussion is needed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our regular agenda, Resolution 2021-R-12. Mr. Simpson?
Resolution number 2021-R-12 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, authorizing a piggyback contract for the purchase of the ERP system using the City of Groveland's contract awarded under RFP number 19-IT-004, providing for implementing administrative action, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Forte, anything to add to this?
No, you had the work session on this at the last commission meeting, so nothing has changed as far as the ERP itself. We're piggybacking off of the Groveland contract, which is actually I think we're actually getting it at a better price. So we're prepared to move forward and hopefully get this thing implemented in time for any exodus of my department heads in a year and a half from now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Forte. Any questions for staff from the commission? All right, at this time, we will open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I will close public participation and entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now moving to the second resolution, 2021-R-13. Mr. Simpson?
Resolution number 2021-R-13 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, appointing one member to the Firefighters Pension Fund Board of Trustees, setting forth the term and expiration date for said member, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any comment, Mr. Forte?
No, this is an appointment to the Fire Pension Board. This will round out the totality of the board. There'll be 5 members on the board now.
Okay. And I don't see the applicant here, but I do know Damon. He's a good man, volunteers a lot in our community. He is a Holly Hill citizen, so it checks off that box. So with that, we will open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on the appointment to the Fire Pension Board of Trustees? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval to appoint Damon Sansom as a member to the Firefighters Pension Fund Board of Trustees.
Motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Curry, second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving now to item number 3, the request for lien reduction, 218 Second Street. Mr. Forte?
Yeah, 218 Second Street had a lien on it. The owner of the property passed away several years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and the property was left to 2 of the owner's children who didn't know that the property was left to them. Over the past few years, actually Sherry Town, working as our code enforcement officer, identified several squatters who took occupancy and started rehabilitating the facility, and was able to contact the police department, which I believe they actually made arrests. because the squatters had somebody falsely sign a real estate sale and purchase contract and to try to transfer the money into their name. So Sherry did a great job at identifying that, and the police department were able to bring that to conclusion with arrests. So over some time, they had some code violations that consisted of things like peeling paint around the windows, high grass, unkept lawn, and because the owners didn't know that they owned it, the fees accumulated. So they obviously now they know that they're the owners of the building. They have a purchase and sale agreement on the property with a realtor out of the DeLand area. We've negotiated, I've talked with them, and I'm going to open this up. We've agreed to a lien reduction and release in the amount of $3,708.88, payable by February 12th. If the sale doesn't go through, or I've given the buyer 60 days to bring the property up into compliance, if either of those don't go through, they've agreed to allow the total value of the lien to be placed back upon the property. It's very, very minor modifications. I have no question that they'll be able to do it in a timely fashion. So that's on there. So in addition to the motion to reduce the lien to administrative fee of $3,708.88 payable by 5 p.m. on February 12th, 2021, it was also brought to my attention today that there is an outstanding water bill, and this is our time to capture that as well for $432.91. So they were told that the lien reduction would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000. So including this, they're still at about $4,200, well below what I had told them the anticipated release amount would be. So if the motion would include the outstanding water bill of $432.91, that would
What's the
encompass
total
everything.
of those two?
I'll give it to you in a second. Well, they're two different things, so you'd have to mention them separately. One would be the lien reduction for $3,708.88, because we do a release on lien of that, and the other would be for $432.91.
Can that all be in one motion?
Yeah.
3,700.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to point out a technical.
Yep.
Mr. Forte, I have an addendum to the contract that the date has been extended for the closing of February 16th. So I don't know if that's going to matter for this being paid by
Sorry,
February 12th.
say that again?
There is an addendum to the contract.
Right.
In our packet, and it says buyer and seller agreed to extend the closing date to February 16th.
Right?
You said the 12th.
That's when they're going to have to pay the lien down. The seller has to pay the lien by
Okay,
the 12th.
okay, I got you.
They're going to
Okay,
close on the property on the 16th.
okay.
So that's okay.
All right, and Joe, can you just
I can read it to you in
say
its
the
entirety. and
the
if somebody
lien
wants to-
again and the water bill for me?
I'll read it out if somebody wants to just
Okay.
move the motion. The
All right.
motion is to reduce the lien to an administrative fee in the amount of $3,708.88 payable no later than 5 p.m. on February 12th, 2021. Failure to pay the lien by this date and time will cause the entire lien to remain on upon the property and subject to foreclosure. In addition, the seller is responsible to pay $432.91 for the outstanding water bill no later than 5 p.m. on February 12th, 2021.
Great. Can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Hold on one second.
I would like to make a motion to what Mr. Forte stated.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. And at this time, I'll open up public comments. So anyone in the audience like to come speak, sir? Yes, sir. And just state your name and address for the record, and then you have 5 minutes.
William Rott, 220 West Minnesota Avenue, DeLand, Florida. I would like, if you could, because the closing is supposed to be the 16th, and the folks are retired, they don't really have the money to do it. The title company, Westside Title, is going to send the money for the water lien. They've already called on that, when you close
You want to do it at closing?
Yeah, both the 16th, and if we get it by the next day, or I'll run the check over the next day, I don't.
You're gonna,
By
And it might
the,
even-
so by the 17th?
yeah,
5
I don't have a
p.m.?
problem with that. This way they do all the money transactions at the closing table, and
It's
that's
all
fine.
done,
yeah.
all done right up front, just so it's convenient.
Okay.
So-
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to,
Hold on one second, let's continue.
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. And before you do that, do we need to make an amendment to the motion since
We
it's
just
already on
state
the
that
floor?
it's deposited in escrow at closing, or how's
Well, I think the idea was that we would have it, it would actually be paid to the city by the day after closing, 5 PM the 17th.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna,
So
I
do,
can-
do we need to make amendment to the motion
Yeah,
then?
The motion
Okay.
is the 12th.
Okay, all right, then I'll allow you to
Mis-
make an amendment.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to my motion, showing that both the water bill and the lien reduction need to be paid no later than 5 PM on February 17th.
All right.
what day of the week
Sir,
is that? It's not a Saturday or anything, is it?
14th is the Sunday, because Super Bowl is
Okay.
7th.
All right. Just want to make sure it wasn't a weekend.
Are you
Yeah,
second?
Wednesday, yep. All right, can we have a second to that amendment?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, so we'll take up the amendment first. So is there any discussion needed on the amendment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the amendment passes unanimously. Now we'll take up the original motion as stated by Mr. Forte. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right. Moving on now to our public hearings. Ordinance, the number one, ordinance 2020-0-3030. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2020-0-3030. By, is this second reading? Yes?
Yes, second reading.
Second and final reading. And an ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, annexing by voluntary petition approximately 9.4 acres, identified as parcel number 4244-01-04-0080, contiguous to the City of Holly Hill, redefining boundaries of the City of Holly Hill to include said property and the adjacent right-of-way of 10th Street and Vine Street, directing the city clerk to file the ordinance with the clerk of the circuit court, with the chief administrative officer of Volusia County, and with the Department of State, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Walker, floor is yours.
This is a request to annex about 9.4 acres of property that is known as 1088 10th Street. It's currently completely in Volusia County, and it came before this commission back on November 10th, and there was no objection at that time to the request for annexation. The request meets all of the requirements under Florida statute, section 171.044. The only thing that's happened between the first time that you heard this and now is that our city manager did notify the county manager, as required by law, that we were intending to annex this piece, and the county did not have any objection to that. The request does precede a request for a comprehensive plan amendment and a rezone, which you will hear shortly. So based on that, staff recommends that the City Commission annex approximately 9.4 acres of property on the northeast corner of the intersection of 10th and Vine Streets, and that is more particularly known as 1088 10th Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Are there any questions for staff? Thank you, sir. Now we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. I will give an opportunity to are you the applicant? If you'd like to, if not, all right. What's that? Just here for questions? All right, thank you, sir. All right, with that, I will ask for a motion for approval.
Motion.
Second?
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Curry, not Courier.
Man, I get called all kinds of things.
Sorry about that. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now moving to item 2, ordinance 2020-0-3032. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2020-0-3032, by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, annexing by voluntary petition approximately 1.34 acres identified as parcel number 4242-40-40-0160, contiguous to the City of Holly Hill, redefining boundaries of the City of Holly Hill to include said property and the adjacent right-of-way of Nova Road and Mistletoe Drive, directing the city clerk to file the ordinance with the clerk of the circuit court, with the chief administrative officer of Volusia County, and with the Department of State, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, as mentioned, this is a request to annex 1.34 acres known as 1652 North Nova Road. It is also entirely within unincorporated Volusia County. The annexation request does meet the requirements of Florida Statute Section 171.044. As with the previous request, the only thing that has changed since the first time that you heard this back on November 10th is that our city manager did notify the county manager of our intent to annex this piece, and there was no objection from the county. This request also does precede a request for a comprehensive plan amendment and a rezone, which you will hear shortly. And based on that, staff recommends that the City Commission annex approximately 1.34 acres of property on the west side of North Nova Road, approximately 400 feet north of LPGA, and that is more specifically known as 1652 North Nova Road, together with the adjacent rights-of-way of Nova Road and Mistletoe Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Are there any questions for staff? Thank you. At this time, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Applicant, you're all right? You want to add anything? All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson
Annex, so bring them in.
and a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now moving to number 3, Mr. Simpson.
Brian, is there a corresponding rezoning ordinance with number 3 that you want me to read simultaneously, or no?
I'm going to read, this is going to cover both, so if you want to read the comp plan amendment and rezone ordinance now?
Is that 3 and 4?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, ordinance number 2021-0-3033 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan by amending the future land use map designation of certain property identified as 1088 10th Street, having a parcel number of 4244-01-04-0080, by virtue of a small-scale future land use map amendment, changing the future land use map designation from UMI, urban medium intensity, to medium density residential, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. And I will also read ordinance number 2021-0-3034 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the land development regulations by amending the official zoning map to designate the property described in Exhibit A from R5, urban single-family residential, to R6, low-density multifamily district, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. I would recommend, even though these are being presented together, that you have separate motions on each one.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Walker?
Yes, the request this evening is to consider an ordinance enacting a small-scale future land use map amendment from UMI, urban medium intensity, which is Volusia County's designation, to MDR, or medium density residential, which is the City of Holly Hill's designation, and a rezone from R5, which is urban single-family residential for Volusia County, to R6, which is low-density multifamily residential for the City of Holly Hill. And this is for 9.4 acres known as 1088 10th Street, which has been recently annexed into the City of Holly Hill. I have included a lot of information in your staff report. Among that is project information and a table showing the zoning and future land uses surrounding the property in question. Also, you will find that there is a facility impact analysis. Basically, whenever you are changing the future land use on a piece of property, especially in a case where the current future land use allows a less density or smaller density than the proposed future land use, as is what's happening this evening, you have to look at the impacts to water, sewer, solid waste, schools, and things of that nature. So in your packet, there is an analysis that does that. And the bottom line is that the city does have the capacity to handle the increases. There will be an increase in going from their future land use of urban medium intensity to our future land use of medium density residential. Another thing that we are required to look at by Florida statute is whether or not the plan amendment is determined to discourage the proliferation of sprawl. And in looking at that, in staff's opinion, this amendment does not represent things such as leapfrog development or premature development. It does not encourage sprawl in any way. One of the major things that we have to do is look at whether or not the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, its policies, goals, and objectives. And in looking at that, in your staff report, I've addressed several comprehensive plan policies that have a direct bearing on the request, and it's staff's opinion that the request is consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the comprehensive plan. Also, they are requesting the R6 zoning district designation. One of the things staff has to do is see if that's an appropriate zoning designation for the property. And the R6 zoning district does permit multifamily development, whereas the current zoning district does not. But the amount of development is restricted in terms of the density to 12 dwelling units per net buildable acre. So although this is more intense than what is currently requested, the density is compatible with the surrounding zoning categories. If you look at the surrounding zoning categories of the property, in their description, they all have medium or high density development as part of their stated purpose. So the requested R6 zoning category is appropriate and compatible with the medium density residential future land use designation as well. So as mentioned in the first reading, just so the board is clear, right now the density is limited to 12 dwelling units per acre by the zoning, but the future land use allows up to 19 dwelling units an acre. If someone comes in 3 months from now and they want to rezone that to a density that allows more than 12 dwelling units an acre, by approving the future land use of medium density residential, you're giving them a good basis, a good argument to be able to get a higher density. Based on that, staff recommends that the commission adopt the proposed ordinance number 3033, enacting a small-scale future land use map amendment from UMI, urban medium intensity, to MDR, medium density residential in Holly Hill, and ordinance 3034, enacting a rezone from R5, urban single-family residential, to R6, low-density multifamily residential, for approximately 9.4 acres located on the northeast corner of the intersection of 10th and Vine Streets, and more specifically known as 1088 10th Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Are there any questions for staff? At this time, we'll open up number 3 and number 4, both ordinances, to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on either one of these ordinances? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I will entertain a motion for approval as reflected by Mr. Walker for ordinance 2021-0-33.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Curry and a second by Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed?
Just one question for Mr. Walker.
Yes. What did I say? Oh, Johnson, second. Okay. Thank you, Clerk. Vice Mayor?
Brian, you said that the land use will allow up to 19 units per acre. The current zoning we're applying would allow 12. And if an applicant were to come back, that they would have a good argument to go to the 19. If that's their intent, wouldn't it be prudent to put that zoning on it now?
It's not the applicant's intent. This applicant's intent is to have no more than 12 dwelling units an acre, but I just wanted it to be clear to this board that when you adopt the future land use, because that's a policy decision, once you adopt that, you will allow anyone to come in and ask for a rezone, which is quasi-judicial, So you'd have to really have a really good basis for not allowing them to increase the density or rezone. If you don't want to ever let them go beyond the 12, then don't approve the future land use amendment.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Would you like to hear from the applicant on that, or are you good?
No, I just, if the applicant's intent was to go for a greater density, I'd like, speak now, don't go through this whole process all over again. It costs everybody money.
If you could come, if you could come up. Thank you. Appreciate it. And state-
Joey Posey, 420 South Nova, attorney for the applicant. The answer is no, that
Okay.
the 12 is sufficient, and honestly, what we're trying to really attract here is, potentially a pretty upscale multifamily development, and if it winds up being single-family too, that's great, but, that's the ask, and that's all we're here asking for. So the representation is no, and if you find that somebody comes in after me with something different, then please feel free to come back to this meeting and point them to this minute, so.
All right.
I just didn't want to delay things. If the intent was greater, I don't want to go through this process another 3 months down the road.
Yeah, exactly, and from the developer's perspective, that makes sense too.
Okay.
So that'd be time and delay on their part.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions before we? All right. Is there any further discussion? We do have a motion and a second on the floor. All right. And with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now I will entertain a motion for approval as reflected by Mr. Walker in his presentation on ordinance 2021-0-3034.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson and a second by Commissioner Danio. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now moving to number 5, ordinance 2021-0-3035. Mr. Simpson?
And I will also read number 6 after I read number 5.
Okay.
Like the last time. Ordinance number 2021-0-30-35. 3035. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending comprehensive plan by amending the future land use map designation of certain property identified as 1652 North Nova Road, having parcel number 4242-40-40-0160, by virtue of a small-scale future land use amendment, changing the future land use map designation from MXZ, mixed-use zoning, to general commercial, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. And then I will read ordinance 2021-0-3036 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the land development regulations by amending the official zoning map to designate the property described in Exhibit A from I-1 Light Industrial to CC1 Commercial Corridor District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Walker?
Yes, and this request is to consider an ordinance enacting a small-scale future land use map amendment from mixed-use zone, MXZ, which is Volusia County's designation, to general commercial Holly Hill, and a rezone from I-1, which is light industrial, Volusia County's designation, to CC1 commercial corridor Holly Hill. And this is for 1.36 acres known as 1652 North Nova Road, which has recently been annexed into the city of Holly Hill. There is project information and a table showing zoning and future land uses for this particular property in the staff report. In your staff report, there's also a facility impact analysis. It does show that there are potentially greater impacts to water, sewer, traffic, solid waste by going from the proposed, from our current future land use of MXZ for Volusia County to the city's future land use of general commercial. But we are able to handle those differences. The analysis does show that the city has that capacity, and we are willing to do that, to handle those. According to Florida law, as with the other request, we do have to make sure that the plan amendment does not encourage the proliferation of urban sprawl, and staff has done an analysis of this and finds that it does not. With regard to consistency with the comprehensive plan, again, we have to make sure that the comprehensive plan amendment or the rezone is consistent with all of the goals, policies, and objectives of the comprehensive plan. In your staff report, you will see that I've addressed several comprehensive plan policies individually and shown that they are consistent with the comprehensive plan. With regard to the zoning that is requested, the predominant zoning category that's applied along the west side of Nova Road, north and south of LPGA, is CC1, and the existing plumbing supply company and the parking lot that abut the parcel under review are CC1. So according to policy 1.1.3 of the future land use element, the CC1 zoning designation is consistent with the general commercial land use classification. Based on this, staff does recommend that the commission adopt the proposed ordinance 3035, enacting a small-scale future land use map amendment from mixed-use zone, MXZ, to general commercial, and a rezone under ordinance 3036, being enacted from I-1 light industrial to CC1 commercial corridor for approximately 1.36 acres located on the west side of North Nova Road, approximately 400 feet north of LPGA, and that is more specifically known as 1652 North Nova Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Are there any questions for staff? All right. At this time, I'll open it up to the public on number 5 and number 6. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Would the applicant like to say anything? We're good? All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion for approval as written for ordinance 2021-0-3035.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Penny and a second by Commissioner Curry. Is there any discussion needed? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now I'll entertain a motion for ordinance 2021-0-3036.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you for coming to our city, too. Appreciate it.
Hey, and thanks for getting me out 2 hours earlier. Right.
And now we'll move to our communications, and we will go to Mr. Forte.
A couple of things, Mayor, thanks. One is, with Easter coming up around the corner, last year, if you remember, that was probably the first event that we canceled due to COVID. So now we have Easter coming upon us, and much of the conditions of COVID still exist. However, a lot of events have been put on. So we're considering moving forward with the Easter egg hunt, but in a modified version to eliminate the petting zoo, eliminate face painting, because that'll just put them too close contact with people, spreading out the way the kids line up to approach the different circles in their age groups, and just do somewhat of a modified Easter egg hunt. And I wanted to get your opinions to see if that's the direction you think we should go in.
All right. Any comments? I know you had a...
The mayor had a great idea. I was
Go
just
ahead,
throwing it-
Danny.
I was throwing it out earlier about having a creative, since Val was talking about masking up for the kids, maybe doing something like promoting a creative mask, the best mask creatively for a contest for the kids or something to throw it in there. I don't know what you got planned, but something to entice them to make sure they come wearing their masks.
They'll be handed a mask if they don't have one.
Yeah, but these aren't going to win any contests.
No, I
But, I mean, what's the,
think we have enough going on not to throw a mask competition into the middle of it.
well, we can let the mayor pick one out. He's been dying to pick out something. Here.
You can pick out a piece of candy here if you want.
Yeah, there you go.
I got my own. Val did good.
Well, I don't like masks, so I'm not
Okay,
doing
yeah.
that. I'm just kidding. All right, any other comments on Easter?
We're all kind of numb to COVID.
You went completely around the block on the last time we talked
We've
about
learned
this.
to live with COVID, and my opinion of events has changed. And I believe you should let the buyer beware. If we put it on, if you're not, it's individual comfort level. If someone doesn't feel comfortable coming with their children, they should stay home. If someone else does feel comfortable attending, let them come. Just like Bike Week. If I had to vote on Bike Week, I'd say let's have it. Thank God Daytona said yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same thing, just in a scaled-down version.
You sound like me back in November.
I know.
Welcome, though. Welcome to my side.
I agree.
I'm on the dark side now.
He's crossed over. I agree. As long as we hold if we maintain our responsibility on our end, then everybody else has got, like you say, their own comfort level. You know what I mean? So we take care of our end and like let the chips fall.
Personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, I'm kind of seeing consensus here to move forward with the Easter egg hunt as proposed. So thank you, Mr. Forte.
Okay. Next is, we have a couple of work sessions that we need to schedule. And now that we moved the commission meeting to 6 o'clock, I want to get the feel of the commission as to when they want to have their work sessions. We could either do them after the commission meeting, or we can do them at 5 o'clock, or we can do them at 4 o'clock, or we can do them at a time that's more convenient for everyone. So I'm going to throw it out there, because some of the things I'd like to talk about are the stormwater that, Mayor, you brought up at the last meeting, looking at our stormwater project, the road paving program of prioritizing the streets over the next couple of years and how we're going to do that, the CRA plans, what's next for the CRA in light of the overhead to underground project, the playground we talked about over here next to the Boys and Girls Club. So there's a number of items that I have planned for a work session, plus whatever the commissioners may want to discuss. So I need to get your thoughts on how and when you want to have these work sessions.
I'm okay with doing the same thing as we always, an hour before, if that workshop is going to be able to be done in an hour. If it's a longer one, for instance, the CRA, I envision that one to maybe be in the middle of the day sometime in the afternoon, so we can all get together, because that's more of an idea session, I feel like, that we're going to be throwing out a lot of ideas that could go 2 hours or 3 hours. So preferably not that one before a city commission meeting. Anybody else want to chime in? Yeah.
I was going to say, if the agenda's light and the workshop is on the light agenda day, we could always have it and maybe finish it up if we're finishing at 7:15, 7:30.
Yeah. So you're good with starting it at 5 if we have a...
I'm good with anything for.
Yeah, I'm like Mr. Danio. We could always start it at 5 if we have to continue it after the meeting, if it's not too heavy of a meeting.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just get a little brain numb.
Yeah. So I kind of see just calling it like we have been before with that same formula.
It's not a problem. And then lastly, you mentioned doing, the commissioners doing a tour of the city, kind of like Commission Day years ago. So with that, I wanted to know if you wanted me to set up individual tours for each of you, or if you wanted to go back to Commission Day where all 5 of you did a tour of the city at a time that may be most convenient for your work schedules. I'm open to anything. We'll do it however all of you like.
Yeah, I'm fine with whichever way is easiest for staff. I do see an added bonus of being individual, because then we don't have to make it a public, thing, because we're all together. No members of the public have ever attended that anyways, but we don't have to record anything or do any of that. So I'm fine with doing it individually, so that way we don't have to get together with all of our schedules, but I'm
fine either way.
I'm fine either way.
The only con I see of doing it, I see the pros of doing it that way, but the con of doing it that way is staff's got to repeat themselves 5 times.
Yeah.
We have to interrupt their work schedule 5 different times.
Well, and I've thought about that, and here's the thing. When we do it in a large, and again, I'll go either way. If we do it in a large group, there tends to be a lot of distractions and takes a long time. If we do it individually, you get one-on-one attention, and frankly, I'm the manager of the mindset where I like my commissioners to know and interact with the department heads. So I don't have a problem, and I don't have to be there to hold everybody's hand. If we set up times and you work with a department head and they talk openly and freely with you, I'm okay with that. And I think they would appreciate having the opportunity to not only show you the systems and the processes that they're doing, but they get an opportunity to brag. So sometimes they just like to brag to the bosses.
Or nag.
It could be
Ag
neg
or
too.
nag?
It could
You're
be.
talking about an
We got that new
individual?
system now,
Is that what you're
Stella.
saying,
We got
Joe?
the new system.
Definitely an ag.
When you're talking like that, you're saying for an individual?
Individually, yeah.
Uh-huh. How long does it usually take? I don't remember. It was a while ago.
Well, it's usually an all-day event when we do it by commission. We do
knock
it
it out
in
in
the
a couple
morning, we
hours.
take a lunch
Yeah.
break, we do it in the afternoon. If you do it individually, it still may take, 3 hours by the time you hit each of the different departments, and we'll get them to narrow down the highlights. What I would suggest is, if you're pressed for time, go last, because it becomes more efficient each time they do it.
Yeah,
And later in the day, because they want to get out.
Yeah, so the
Right.
first guy's going to probably have first person is going to have the longest time, and it gets streamlined as the commissioners go on, so.
I'm fine either way.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine either way. I think it might be
I'll
easier
talk
to
to the
just,
staff.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay. That's all I have. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Forte. Mr. Simpson, do you have anything for us?
No comments.
All right. City Clerk, Ms. Manning? All right. I just wanted to say that we did do the State of the City this past week, and I thought it went pretty well. We had a good response from it, a good turnout, and everybody was spaced out because we had a large enough room, thankfully. So I thought it went pretty well. So thank you guys for being there, and thank you to the staff for preparing this commission to be ready to go for that. We appreciate that.
Did a great job, Mayor.
Thank you. And the only other thing I have tonight, that is, usually I don't talk about personal stuff, but today is my son's first birthday. Harrison.
Already?
Already. He's already won. So
Is he eating solid food yet?
he is. Oh, yeah, for a while.
Monday night, pizza night,
He's
man.
been walking since
Does he
9
eat
months.
pizza?
And
Everybody eats pizza.
yeah. He has to eat very healthy stuff right now. So, and coincidentally, it's the 10-year anniversary of me meeting my wife. I went into her chiropractic office that she was working at the time, and coincidentally, 9 years later, she gave birth to our son. So, weird how God kind of puts timelines together sometimes.
His schedule.
It's his schedule, that's right. All right, that's all I have. Tonight, we'll start with Vice Mayor Penny.
Reference to the State of the City, I think you did an amazing job, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
The program far exceeded my expectations. I was apprehensive, I think we all were, about video recording and not being able to interact. It was a great venue, great program. You're a great public speaker, so you did a fantastic job, so thank you.
However, come on.
Well, okay, there is a however. I had a couple complaints
Yeah.
that once we're past COVID, that I know we have limited resources in our city to hold a mass gathering. But the only constructive criticism that I was given was that in the future, if the chamber or the city were to put on an event, it would be great if it could be in our city limits.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think everyone would agree. I don't think we have a venue that would have held that many people and felt that comfortable, because we were socially it was a great place to do that. But that was the only positive,
And we
constructive criticism that I received.
And we completely agree too. Samantha, came to Mr. Forte and I because we didn't have a place to
Right.
space people out because of COVID. So in future years, we'll be able to
No,
jam people into a place
Right.
and do it.
No, it was
that
it was
the
great.
only reason.
It
They didn't know if they were going to get 200 people or,
I know.
I think there was 90 that bought tickets and a couple tables couldn't come because of COVID.
No, it was great. And Senator Wright filled right in, so it was.
Yeah.
He was
good.
funny.
I told
Yeah.
that story about the decompression with the PTSD to at least 8 people.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that.
He spends his own fortune all the time. He probably should say this, but he has a private jet and he flies these guys in. So he didn't say that. He spends a lot of money, takes these veterans in. Senator Tom Wright, he takes care of the veterans and puts them in decompression chambers, and so far every one of them that he's worked with has gotten rid of PTSD through decompression
Yeah, it was
chamber
amazing.
sessions,
Listening
and
to talk
it
about
is.
that.
And so he did get funding from the state, but the state is also doing a lot of studies on it and all these things, and it's just really getting held up. But eventually, I believe that the state will start doing that for our veterans, and it's very, very cool. But he puts his own money where his mouth is and flies these guys in on his jet and puts them through everything and pays for everything. So good dude.
That was a great program. So,
Yeah.
Volusia League of Cities, we have another Zoom meeting this Thursday, if you're able to attend.
That's right.
Lois Pritzky from Ponce Inlet will be talking about advocacy. We thought advocacy would look one way this year, and we'd be post-COVID. Advocacy is going to look like it did last year, with no not much face-to-face interaction with our legislators. And then that's all I got. So.
All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Curry?
Thank you. And I'm sorry I had to miss. I would have preferred to have been there. But sometimes we have to put family first.
Always.
I just want to say that I can't believe Tom Mascio has retired.
I can't believe Tom asked.
That means you're both getting old.
I already know that.
Started after I did.
But I'm glad for him to be able to finally reach that and move on, and it's a good thing. And the support that was shown for him by his colleagues and family, and it's amazing. And I think our fire department looks awesome in those new uniforms.
Those sweats or whatever they were wearing, I didn't know that was our guys.
They looked good. So please pass that along to Chief Bland. I was really impressed with the way they looked.
Policemen want them next.
Now, the cops, the cops are the cops. No, but thank your guys, because they have definitely been out doing that speed enforcement. I saw them on 8th Street today, and I've seen a lot of positive on Facebook. I was wondering if that would happen, because there's always negative, but I've seen a lot of positive on Facebook, so thank you for that as well.
Depends if you're the driver.
And luckily, I wasn't speeding this morning. I'm sure they would have loved to have pulled me over. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Daniel?
Well, after last week, I've signed a few autographs for my video.
Celebrity.
You did a real good job. You were definitely a speaker. No, I just wanted to say, it was refreshing to see the accomplishments at the breakfast, and in spite of certain individuals that seem to think that we're not holding our own, no names mentioned, but I'm sure we're all thinking the same thing, that the city, I mean, I've been here 33 years feeding people and just kind of watching things, and I just feel like we've kicked it into a new speed of moving forward. And some people just need to kind of enjoy the ride instead of being so critical. But it was just nice to see that, like you said, that we're kind of landlocked and our redevelopment is our priority. And I think we've, taken the bull by the horns and just shown a lot of effort and collective effort and collaboration. So not much of a talker sometimes, but I just thought I'd kind of throw that out there. So
I agree with you full-heartedly. So no city will ever be perfect.
no person, no city, no.
Try.
Yep, that's all we can do.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Daniel. Commissioner Johnson?
Well, it's a great thing. I know even if we annex just a small amount in the city, at least we're making it a little bit larger.
Yeah.
It only goes so much.
Yeah, we did that twice tonight.
And then it really, I know it probably cost a lot of money for the meeting we had for the state of the city, but we had a good sponsor.
Yeah, FPNL. There we go.
I'm sure they put out a lot of money for it, but that was a good thing. And the main thing that I wanted to talk about was, for the first time in over a year, I believe it is now, we're going to have an in-person meeting with the TPO tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Wow.
I mean, I pushed hard trying to get people that didn't want to come. Even the Mayor Warman, he's a new member, he's coming. We're gonna have a TPO meeting in person in the morning, because we got 11 people who agree to come. So I think we'll start getting something done now. I mean, when you're hiding behind a device, it's hard to get people to really do anything, to try to make a change and do things. But it's really gonna be a good thing. And we had 10 new members. I think the total voting number is probably less than 20. I think it's like 19 or so. We got 10 new members.
Yeah, over half the board.
So good. We got our Ed Kelly's gone. We got Deb Dennis is gonna be gone. Now we got Dwight Selby's gone, and so many people are filling in for them. You know what I mean? So
Did Dwight lose?
Huh?
No, he just came off the board
Oh,
for TPO.
I got you. The mayor went on. I got you. So it's gonna be a good thing tomorrow. I think we're gonna see how it goes for the first time in a year, but it's 11 people is agreed to come to make sure that we got 10. We had to get 10 to have a quorum, so that's gonna be a good thing. So,
Do we have anything on the agenda that affects us?
well, that's another thing we need to really, I'm trying to stress the importance of the LPGA corridor. And we just need to make sure that we all agree that we really seriously need it, you know what I mean? Some people say we just want it, we don't need it, but I think we really need it.
Yeah, it's a
We don't
need.
need it now, we need it in the future. So we need, and they don't do anything before 2045 anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I really believe eventually that LPGA is gonna have to have a bridge across the river eventually. It's gotta happen. I'll never see it. I'll probably never see it get started. But eventually it's gotta be done. It's the interstate exit, LPGA. It's a main thoroughfare like Granada, right off the interstate. And I believe eventually we'll go across the river. I mean, it'll be another main road on it, so. If everybody pretty much agrees on it, I'm gonna push the issue pretty heavily for us to try to at least trying to get LPGA full lane if we can from Nova Road to US 1 if we can. It would be nice, but we'll see how it goes. And another issue that I push and I really, really believe in, that nobody seems to take an interest in, that Williamson Boulevard needs to be full lane all the way from LPGA to Hand Avenue. They've had it on the agenda for so long to do it from LPGA to Strickland Range Road. I mean, it's already most of the way. They need 3 dump truck loads of asphalt and then have 4 lanes up there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so if they go up to Hand Avenue, they'll have a 4 lane all the way. I mean, suppose they had a catastrophe on I-95 between ISB and Granada. Where's the traffic gonna go, on a 2 lane road or something? I mean, that's the only place it could go is on that. And they need to push that issue. And also they need to push the road, Timber Creek Road, to go away from LPGA all the way across Granada and all the way out by the McDonald's up at the US 1. It needs to be 4 lane all the way eventually. And then interchange up in Ormond. I think you really need to do that, you know. I mean, they're not gonna be able to do an interchange in Ormond where it is, because there's no way to have enough property to do a cloverleaf there. So they're talking about going to have to move it further down south, just a little bit further down to where the ball fields are, and all, maybe will be the interchange eventually, you know. So if anybody has anything else we could bring up that we might need in Holly Hill, I'd be glad to present it at the meeting.
Yes, sir, Vice Mayor.
I think we would all agree if we were drawing out our city, we would definitely draw LPGA as a 4 lane road. But we talked about we're redeveloping. We have to deal with what we have. And I really think this needs to be one of the first workshops that we have in the upcoming weeks or months, because I know there's feasibility studies, and I want to know, I would like to see a picture of what would a 4 lane road look like, because when you look west of Nova Road, what a 4 lane looks like, and you take that, if you Google Earth west of Nova to Derbyshire, and you pick that up, and you transpose it into our city, which is about the same size, right? I think all those businesses on the west side of the road disappear. So it's easy to say here and say, we need it, we want it, give it to us. But what is the real, that's what I want to see before I say I want to push forward with 2 lanes, 3 lanes, a bridge, whatever. It's a wish. I think we would all agree if we could go back in time and redo it, we would. But I want to do as much improvement as we can with the least amount of negative impact to any of our existing businesses. So I just don't want to say, hey, go forward, go give them hell tomorrow, Roy.
Yeah, it's a pipe dream unless
Because
you're
I don't
gonna go,
know.
unless you're going 2 lanes on top of each other, one way and one the other.
Well, and we did leave off this conversation kind of where we're at, with Roy and I really wanting to push hard for that,
Right.
and you guys being a little more cautious. And so I wouldn't mind bringing that up again in the workshop, and we could talk about it at the workshop when we're going to talk about the future roads that we're going to be repaving, that list, and how that's done as well. It could be combined probably into one. But this LPGA might turn into another long one as well. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I just want to be realistic that, hey,
I mean-
let's not go down this road if we're not willing to disrupt all those businesses. I mean, Mr. Daniel can agree that when DOT took over our parking on US 1, very disruptive. And I think that would be the least amount of disruption we would do to those businesses. If you look at Universal there, it's going to be right against their fence, and Baylor, so I just don't know.
I agree it needs to be looked at, and because I don't think Roy and I either want to affect a business negatively as well. And when we did have the engineer here, and from my talks, and I'm not an engineer, but from my talks with another engineer, Miriam Giabi, thinks that it can be done without having to do that. It will take creative engineering, of course, which of course makes more money. And so then the problem becomes, how do we get more money, as opposed to, if we can leave these alone, we don't want to negatively impact it. So it's a discussion worth having, more in depth, and see if we can get you over to our side again.
No, it's the money thing, and
Well, that's another issue as well. I mean, the money could be obtained. There's other things. Look at this gigantic gas station going to open up here.
They're not ready for that.
120 gas pumps on LPGA. If they increase the gas price 1 penny or 2 pennies a gallon, it could pay for the whole stupid project.
No, and
One gas station.
I agree, but the other roads, the other intersections that you mentioned, I would bet will be funded before that little strip of LPGA is funded, just because the number of people that traffic it, and that they will demand it more.
But we've only had 6 months of pickleball. We just opened up the boat ramp and things, so there's going to be more and more people coming through that way. And when they have all these big events and the tournaments and all that, they are just going to go north and south in US 1. They can't even get back up the interstate that way on 2 lanes or anything. I mean, right now, if you get on a busy time, this traffic backed up all the way to Center Street to Nova Road. When you get there going west on it.
Commissioner Johnson, when you go out there on when there's 4 lanes, you'll be backed up for 3 lights, and you're gonna go, from the highway to the Sam's lights, and they're 4 lanes. They're not ready for that either.
Well,
So
and
2 lanes or 4 lanes,
we can continue this discussion
Yeah.
too, and that, because we all have valid points, and I think it's worth discussing, but let's take that to the workshop.
That's the main thing I had, except for the other thing. Last weekend, my little grandson finally, for the first time in his entire life, hit a grand slam.
there you go.
When you said he made 4 runs in 1 hit, that was good. That was his first time ever. He said, he had 3 home runs last weekend, but only one of them was grand slam.
That's awesome.
So he did good.
That's awesome.
And so your kid's a year old.
Oh yeah, couple more years.
T-ball comes quick.
Yep.
T-ball comes
Yeah, I'm
quick.
thinking about.
I think his grandpa's going to be
But
teaching
they
him.
don't have to be very old to get started on T-ball. Now, your friend Ron John, he's already
Yeah.
got his little boy.
Oh, I know.
Catching balls and throwing
He's gonna be
balls.
good too.
He's probably eating pizza.
He's like 2 years old. He can swing a bat, hit a ball, everything.
Thing, and keep them waiting in video games and
Yeah.
other things,
Amen to that. Anything further, Commissioner?
No, that's all I have.
All right. Is there any further business? All right. With that, this meeting is adjourned. 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 All right. With that, this meeting